All right, let's go. Let's go. Let's build. Let's talk real heavy today. What's up, everybody? Thanks for clicking this video. Thanks for tuning into my channel. My name's Simon Hill, Black American from Louisiana. Today is October 27th, 2023. It's about 7:35 p.m. where I am, Budapest, Hungary. Just got off work. Just made it back to the crib, putting in some work on this channel. We're going to build real heavy today, talking about the tomfoolery that's going down in Mississippi. If racism were in the Olympics, every Mississippian would get a gold medal. If white supremacy had a home, it's Mississippi. So I always start off these live streams with a map because it's unfortunate how many people in the world don't know basic geography, even Americans. Most Americans couldn't point out Mississippi on a map, unfortunately. So let's look at this state right next to my hometown of Monroe, Louisiana. Wow. Yeah, I-20 cutting right through. It's a stopover. It's really a shitty town. There's nothing to brag about Monroe. Mississippi is this large state here in the southeastern part of the U.S., east of the Mississippi River. The largest city here is Jackson. Where's Jackson? Right here. And yeah, it's basically a shithole. It's the shithole. If Louisiana would be the worst state in the nation if it weren't for Mississippi. It's one of the worst places in the world. I would rather be born in the Democratic Republic of Congo than Mississippi. I would rather be I would rather be left on a desert island to die than have to spend the rest of my life in Mississippi. Mississippi is trash. Mississippi is like all the worst things about America in one single place. Horrible, horrible. Now there's tons of black people there in Mississippi, unfortunately, and it's Mississippi is not a horrible place because of the black people there or the generational poverty that persists there. It's horrible because of the people in charge. The people in charge in Mississippi institutionally are white supremacists, hell bent on keeping the majority, well, a good portion of the Mississippian population that is black under complete subjugation. This is one of the few times when it's absolutely true that the white man is trying to keep the black man down because that's all Mississippi is. Shout out to City Paper, aka Guyana Brent in the chat. We're waiting for him to start up that channel and get it popping for us. We're looking forward to that. Thank you for coming in and building with us. We're going to be talking real heavy about Mississippi. Mississippi, cricket letter I, humpback I. Yeah, we talking real heavy about the tomfoolery going down in Mississippi. So let's get to it. Let's not play around here because I got to eat dinner and I got some more classes to do. So let's talk. Let's start here. Mississippi has is acting a fool this year when it comes to their police. Their police are out of control, sexually assaulting black men, killing civilians, hitting people with cars and burying them in unmarked graves. It's out of control. Let's get into this first article today. It's from ABC News how 6 Mississippi officers tried to cover up their torture of 2 black men. 6 white former law enforcement officers in Mississippi have pleaded guilty to a racist assault on Michael Corey Jenkins and his friend Eddie Terrell Parker. This was written by Michael Goldberg, reported for Report for America and the Associated Press, published on August 4th, 2023. So here's the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights at the U.S. Department of Justice, Kristen Clark, left addresses reporters from a monitor during a news conference following a court hearing where 6 white former Mississippi law enforcement officers pled guilty to federal civil rights offenses in federal court in Jackson, Mississippi, Thursday, August 3rd, 2023. The 6 former officers who called themselves the quote-unquote goon squad pleaded guilty to a racist assault on 2 black men in a home raid that ended with an officer shooting one man in the mouth. My God. My God, what type of country do we live in where the police are breaking into homes, calling themselves the goon squad, sexually assaulting black men? I know it's not mentioned here yet, but was a big story earlier this year, and we're coming back to it because we want to make sure that we stay on these white supremacists' neck. These guys are running around with it as a gang, the police. 6 officers burst into these 2 black men's homes, and even if they were trapping out of that home, even if they were doing criminal activity out of that home, does that mean you have to come in there and smack them up and down and then shoot one in the mouth like he's 50 Cent or something? Come on now. What is this? What is this? This is America. Let's go. Jackson, Mississippi. Men who had sworn an oath to protect and serve were huddled on the back porch of a Mississippi home as Michael Corey Jenkins lay on the floor, blood gushing from his mutilated tongue, where one of the police officers shoved a gun in his mouth and pulled the trigger. Ain't that some gangster stuff? You know, a lot of people think that Black men are obsessed with gangster lifestyles or gangster activity, but the biggest gang in America is every single police department. Every single police department is filled with white supremacists, latent racists, or people who just want to be the tough guys. Yeah, I said it. Yeah, I said it. Are there hypothetically good police officers? Yes, yes. But as we've seen time and time again, police officers really don't want to call out the bad ones. They just want to let the bad ones get away with what they do, because what's more important, the code, the blue wall of silence. It's more important to protect police officers than it is to stand up for the citizens who they swear they are here to protect and serve. Anyway, let's continue reading. As Jenkins writhed in pain, the six white officers devised a scheme to cover up dozens of stunning acts of brutality that they had just carried out during 90 minutes of terror against Jenkins and a second black victim. The officers planted drugs, they stole surveillance footage from the house, they tried to dispose of other evidence, they agreed on a set of lies that would further upend their victims' lives. And that was just the cover up. Careful to avoid security cameras at the house, they burst in without a warrant, starting the physical, sexual, and psychological abuse. They handcuffed Jenkins and his friend Eddie Terrell Parker and poured milk, alcohol, and chocolate syrup over their faces. They forced them to strip naked and shower together to conceal the mess. They mocked the victims with racial slurs. They shocked them with stun guns. This is sick. This is sick. This is what every police officer, a lot of them wish that they had the ability to do. And growing up in Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, these are the forgotten places of America. These are where the white supremacists are roaming free. These are the places where they can get away with doing whatever they want, honestly, because nobody's paying attention. I am not surprised that this happened in Mississippi, because I'm not surprised this happened in America in general. But I'm not surprised that this happened, because I'm sure this happened multiple times to multiple different black men, unfortunately, and it went unreported, or the criminals who were the cops in this case got away with abusing black men like this. This is a shame that this can happen in America, but we allow it to persist because we have a culture in America that worships police officers. We think police officers are here to serve and protect, but they're absolutely not. The officers had meant to torture the men without leaving physical scars, but one shot Jenkins in the mouth. Miraculously, Jenkins survived. The six officers pleaded guilty Thursday to a long list of federal civil rights charges. The Mississippi Attorney General's office announced afterward that it had filed state charges that included assault, conspiracy, and obstruction of justice. Law enforcement officers are seldom charged for crimes committed on the job, and it's rarer still for them to plead guilty. The charges follow an investigation by the Associated Press that linked some of the deputies to at least four violent encounters with black men since 2019 that left two dead and another with lasting injuries. The officers included Christian Dedman, Hunter Elward, Brett McAlpin, Jeffrey Middleton, and Daniel Opdyke of the Rankin County Sheriff's Department, and Joshua Hartfield, a Richland police officer. They pleaded guilty to charges including conspiracy against rights, obstructions of justice, deprivation of rights under color of law, discharge of a firearm under a crime of violence, and conspiracy to obstruct justice. Absolutely horrible. Absolutely horrible what these guys did. And listen, I don't care if somebody comes into my comments later and says, well, there was two or three black guys with the other white guys who came in there and assaulted them. Because if I remember right, the article says that these were six white officers, all of them. But even if, let's say, hypothetically, they were all black, this is still wrong, because too many of us in America view things through the lens of color. As soon as we hear, oh, all these black officers beat up a man like they did in, I forgot, there was a major case where a man died after six Memphis black police officers beat him up, and then he died this year. And people said, oh, well, see, police aren't all racist. Well, it doesn't matter. We have a system in America where black men are viewed as threats. Black men are the easiest ones to target and pick on and that sort of thing. And what we see constantly in America, that the police are not there to serve and protect. They are there to abuse and neglect black men. And this is what's happening here. Let's get into the comments. Dennis Shaheen says, sounds like a horror movie. It absolutely is a horror movie. Imagine living as a black person in America. Every day is a horror. Let's continue. The terror began on January 24th in a racist call for extrajudicial violence that felt like it was from a bygone era. A white neighbor phoned Rankin County Deputy Brett McAlpin and complained that two black men were staying with a white woman inside a Braxton home. McAlpin told Deputy Christian Denman, who texted a group of white deputies so willing to use excessive force, they called themselves the Goon Squad. Are y'all available for a mission? Denman asked. They were. See, Negro philophobia is real. Some racist, white supremacist neighbor calls up his cop buddy and says, "Hey, I see two black men living in a home with a white woman. We got to take care of that." Negro philophobia. Why are people so concerned with the black man's penis? The black man's penis can never win in this world. The black man's penis is constantly judged by other white people who seek to police it under the threat of death, and other black people who seek to police it under threat of expelling them from the black community or canceling them or denigrating their character. This is insane. And this is why I so adamantly think that we need to, as black people, not give a fuck about what people think what we do with our penis. But also, white people need to check themselves and check their others on this Negro philophobia that they have, this love and desire for the black body, but also this fear of it. White people as a community need to come together and say, we're going to stop, all this worshiping and fear of black men's penises. You get what I'm saying? It's insane. So Updike admits he was wrong for his part in the horrific harms and is prepared to face the consequences of his actions, attorney Jason Kirschberg said in a statement. Hartfield's attorney, Gilliam, said while he cannot change what he did, he has shown that he is ready to accept consequences. Attorneys for the other men did not respond to requests for comment. The deputies were under the watch of Sheriff Brian Bailey, who called it the worst episode of police brutality he has seen in his career. Black residents on Friday expressed revulsion at the former officer's actions, gratitude toward Jenkins and Parker for speaking out about their treatment, and relief that the officers were being brought to justice. When the people that you expect to protect you are the people who are hurting you and killing you, there are just no words to describe how it has affected the mindset, the mental state of our people, said Angela English, the county's NAACP president. Law enforcement misconduct in the U.S. has come under increased scrutiny. The 2020 killing of George Floyd by Minneapolis police ignited calls for sweeping criminal justice reforms and a reassessment of American race relations. The January beating of Tyree Nichols by 5 black members of a special police squad in Memphis, Tennessee, led to a probe of similar units nationwide. So, yeah, I wanted to talk about that. That's who I was talking about, Tyree Nichols. I forgot his name. Black man in Memphis, Tennessee, was beaten to death by, or was he beaten to death? I forgot if he died or not because this happens so much in America. But either way, this was a big a story scandal that happened this year, and people were saying, okay, so these black officers prove that the police aren't systemically racist because maybe black men seriously are a threat to society. Even other black men who are the police have to beat up on them. That's a stupid argument, but it's really a true argument that the white supremacists make about how policing is done in America and that sort of thing. And yeah, anyway, what we are seeing constantly in America, that the poor, the dispossessed are the ones who fill the jails, deal with the most mistreatment from police, and this constantly continues, and it needs to stop. So Avery Adams jumped into the chat. He sent a 20. I want to say thank you, Avery. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. This is the first super chat I've ever gotten on a solo live stream, and I hope people continue to support as well. I don't ask for money. I don't beg for donations. I sincerely do this because I truly just believe in myself and believe I have a message to spread and share. So let's continue building here. In Rankin County, the brutality visited upon Jenkins and Parker was not a botched police operation, but an assembly of rogue officers who tortured them all under the authority of a badge, which they disgraced. U.S. Attorney Darren LaMarca said. The majority white county is just east of the state capital, Jackson, home to one of the highest percentages of black residents of any major U.S. city. A towering monument topped by a Confederate soldier stands across the street from the Rankin County Sheriff's Office. And that's how you know what time it is when you go to Rankin County. You get what I'm saying? I mean, there are places where I grew up in North Louisiana where you see Confederate monuments. Places are named after Confederate soldiers and generals and that sort of stuff. And listen, the white supremacists love to say, oh, we made these statues for these Confederate soldiers to honor our legacy. But no, most of those statues were built around the 1960s to it be erected in front of black people who were fighting for their civil rights to remind them that you are living under a system of white supremacy and black subjugation. And so, yeah, those statues need to be taken down. All of those officers on Rankin County's police force need to be interrogated, investigated. If they've ever heard of the goon squad or if they've ever been a part of things like that, all of that needs to be looked into seriously. So, federal court records detail what happened. As Jenkins lay bleeding, the officers knew the mission had gone too far. Instead of coming clean, they devised a hasty cover up that included a fictitious narcotics bust and threats. The officers warned Jenkins and Parker to stay out of Rankin County and go back to Jackson or their side of the Pearl River. Court documents say, referencing an area with higher concentrations of black residents. Kristen Clark, head of the Justice Department Civil Rights Division, said the trauma is magnified because the misconduct was fueled by racial bias and hatred. That recalled that a sheriff's deputy was also involved in one of Mississippi's most notorious crimes, the 1964 kidnapping and killing of three civil rights workers by a Ku Klux Klan members. After Deadman summoned the goon squad, the officers crept around the ranch style home to avoid a surveillance camera. They kicked down the carpet door and burst inside without a warrant. Opdyke found a sex toy, which he mounted on a nearby BB gun and forced into Parker's mouth. Deadman tried to sexually assault Jenkins with the toy. The officers used stun guns on them, comparing whose weapons were more powerful. This is absolutely sick. What type of sick police officer walk around with dildos attached to BB guns, put it in people's mouths, and try to, basically sexually penetrate these men? Absolutely disgusting that this was allowed to happen. These people should be buried under the jail. Places like Louisiana, Mississippi are known for giving very harsh sentences to people. These guys definitely need a good 25 to life, never see the sun again. And they need to be left in a cell with some brothers who will really handle them. Seriously, what type of sick people do this? What even goes through your mind to say we're going to go plant drugs on some black men just because they were sleeping with white women? Hypothetically, a racist neighbor calls and says, these two black guys are in a house with a white woman. Y'all bring the dildo, y'all bring the BB gun, and y'all get to work. Y'all know what time it is. Goon squad, baby. What type of sick people are these? Seriously, seriously, seriously. And I'm pretty sure they are not the only ones. They're just the six who got caught. They're just the six who got caught doing this foul stuff to black men. Anyway, Edwards forced Jenkins to his knees for a mock execution, intending to fire the BB gun without a bullet. But it was loaded and discharged, cutting Jenkins' tongue. Okay, so it wasn't a BB gun. I misread that. Intending to fire the gun without a bullet, but it was loaded and discharged, cutting Jenkins' tongue, breaking his jaw, and exiting through his cheek. As Jenkins bled on the floor, the officers devised a cover story for investigators. Edward brought Jenkins into a side room to stage a drug bust over the phone and said Jenkins reached for a gun when he was released from handcuffs. Middleton offered to plant an unregistered gun, but Elward said he would use the BB gun. Deadman volunteered to plant methamphetamine he had received from an informant. Prosecutors in Rankin County initially charged Jenkins with a felony based on the methamphetamine that was later dropped. Opdyke put one of Edwards' shell casings in a water bottle and threw it into tall grass nearby. Hartfield removed the hard drive from the home surveillance system and later tossed it in a creek. Afterward, McAlpin and Middleton made a promise. They would kill any of the officers who told the truth about what happened. This is like a sick horror movie, man. This sounds like Training Day in Mississippi. If anybody's seen Training Day, they burst into the home of the people with the drugs and stuff like that. They divvy up the money, and I think they kill the drug dealers in that same thing. This is like Training Day level insanity. This is like from a bad script from Quentin Tarantino. But these police officers are really running around here, really doing this to black men, assaulting them, planting drugs on them, shooting them in the mouth, trying to stick dildos in their mouths. Absolutely disgusting. This is training day, and God, I wish the equalizer would pop up. Where's Denzel when you need him? We need the equalizer to pop up and lay down some bad cops. Seriously. All right. The officers kept quiet as pressure mounted from a Justice Department civil rights probe. One came forward in June, Sheriff Bailey said. Bailey said Thursday that he was lied to and only learned the truth when he read unsealed court documents. McAlpin and Elward worked under Bailey for years and were sued several times for alleged misconduct. The sheriff said the deputies violated existing body camera rules by not wearing them when in uniform. He promised to mandate body cameras be turned on with fewer exceptions and said he was open to more federal oversight. He also called the officers criminals, echoing federal prosecutors. Now they'll be treated as the criminals they are, U.S. Attorney LaMarca said. Honestly, though, while this is good that these guys have been caught and that sort of stuff, and that they're going to face jail time, it's still sad that they probably got away with a lot more. If they were able to form the name Goon Squad and click up immediately as soon as they got the bat signal that a black man was sleeping with a white woman in Mississippi, God forbid, they have probably been doing this to other black men. And honestly, any black man who was arrested by them and later charged and convicted of a crime by these guys needs to have their convictions overturned, honestly, because justice was not carried out. If you have criminal cops arresting you, there's no way that you can guarantee that that was a fair arrest, that they didn't plant drugs on them, that they didn't coerce them to give testimony that would lead to their conviction. These guys need to be the reason we overhaul the justice system and really make sure we get good cops on the street. I am not Mr. Abolish the police, but there are way too many bad cops out here for there to be goon squads running around. But unfortunately, in Mississippi, not all the times the good guys win. Sometimes the good guys uh, lose, just to be honest. And let's look at this story here where the bad guys in Mississippi finally got away with something, or they've continued to get away, because this story that we just read is the anomaly. In other times, these cops would have gotten away scot-free and there would have been no charges. But what happens regularly? Stories like this. So, three former Mississippi police officers indicted in death of a man in custody. Keith Muriel died after being arrested by Jackson officers on December 31st. The mayor said video of the encounter shows actions that are excessive, disheartening, and tragic. Let's get into the comments real quick. So, Avery Adams says, City Paper, what up, sir? Hope all is well. City Paper said, likewise. Avery Adams, this is Deaf Training Day. Yep, absolutely like Training Day. City Paper says, I have several stories about living in Nashville, Tennessee, dealing with MNPD. Nashville is a racist city. And that's crazy because, just to be honest with you, a lot of the South is really nice. A lot of the South has great weather for most of the year. You know, some parts of Mississippi can be a bit too hot. Nashville, I heard, has decent weather year round. And also, it's a very historic city and there's a lot to do. But you know who really messes America up? We have a great country. Honestly, I said this on my live stream yesterday. The United States, honestly, is a great country. My mother came from Belize because, honestly, the U.S. offers so much to so many people. We have a lot of territory, a lot of beautiful places, diverse populations, people from all over the world. America is really like no other. But it becomes almost unlivable when we have a section of people hell bent on maintaining subjugation of another group of people and not willing to take any accountability or steps to make our society more equal and fair. That's the biggest problem with America, honestly. It's almost perfect. America is damn near almost perfect. But we have too many guns in America, too many people worship the police, and too many people don't realize how big of a problem white supremacy and anti-black racism is in America. I'm just keeping it absolutely real with y'all. On my opinion. That's my opinion. My opinion. Anyway, this article was written on May 25th, 2023. All these stories are from this year. If we did a deep dive live stream on police misconduct in Mississippi, that live stream would last for 20 hours. Anyway, let's get to this story here. A Mississippi grand jury has indicted two former police officers on murder charges and another ex-officer on a manslaughter charge in the death of a black man seen on video being pinned down and repeatedly shocked with stun guns during a New Year's Eve arrest. Officials in the state capital of Jackson released body camera footage Wednesday that showed then officers Avery Willis, Kenya McCarty, and James Land struggling to handcuff Keith Murray as he was apparently stunned numerous times over 10 minutes. Okay, I made a mistake introducing this article because I think this article is actually about police being held accountable. This is another anomaly. The one that is not the anomaly is the one that we will read after this. Apologies, continuing. So the officers have had tackled Muriel while arresting him for allegedly trespassing at a hotel shortly before midnight on December 31st, authorities said. This is, I guess, him, Keith Muriel, right here, and looks like a older guy, not really a threat to anybody. Doesn't really seem like a dangerous person from the picture. You know what I mean? But even if he was trespassing on a hotel on New Year's, let's keep it real. The police should be like more cognizant of who they're dealing with. We're talking about a guy trespassing on a hotel on New Year's. He most likely could have been drunk, might have been disoriented, might have been, on some drugs or something like that. I mean, give the man a break. Even if he's acting a bit unruly, it's pretty excessive to beat a man up, choke him, and all sorts of stuff just because he's trespassing on a hotel. But that goes to show police are not really here to protect and serve the citizens. No, they're here to protect and serve capital. They're here to protect and serve capital. McCarty and Willis have been charged with second-degree murder and land with manslaughter, court records showed. All three were placed on administrative leave after the incident. McCarty was fired in February and Willis and Land in April. McCarty and Willis are black and Land is white, according to Melissa Faith Payne, a city spokesperson. Payne said she did not know whether any of the officers had attorneys as of Wednesday who could comment for them. The video shows McCarty kneeling with her knee on Muriel's back before Muriel flips around and the three officers attempt to lock his hands behind his back. The 41-year-old man is seen pleading with officers to stop shocking him with stun guns. After handcuffing Muriel, officers then laid the man horizontally on the back seat of a patrol vehicle. The video showed he died after being taken into custody. Willis' body cam footage showed him talking to another officer after the encounter. I hope he's asleep because if he's asleep, it'll be a good ride, Willis said, using a racial slur to refer to Muriel. It was funny seeing his feet in the air. Jackson Mayor Chokwe Antar Lumumba said at Wednesday's news conference that the city was now releasing body camera footage because a Mississippi Bureau of Investigation probe of the death had been completed. The officers, all ex-members of the Jackson Police Department, or JPD, were indicted on May 12th. We believe we have seen actions that are excessive, disheartening, and tragic, Lumumba said, and we believe that is not representative of the vision of public safety that not only this administration wants to put forward, but we believe the men and women of JPD want to be put forward. The city released the footage less than 1 week after former Jackson chief James Davis announced his retirement. After Muriel's death, Davis initially said the man had a medical emergency. Lumumba said Davis' departure was not related to the incident. Acting Police Chief Joseph Wade pledged transparency in speaking with reporters at Wednesday's appearance. I would ask the citizens of Jackson to continue to support the dedicated, hardworking men and women of the Jackson Police Department who put their lives on the line every single day, he said. We will continue to have accountability measures in place, not only from the bottom up, but from the top down as we move forward. Yeah, there needs to be accountability. More police need to be taken into custody if they hurt innocent civilians that lead to their deaths, especially if they were probably drunk or on drugs on New Year's. We got to let stuff slide. We can't take everything so seriously as a society where we call the police on everybody and everybody's a suspected criminal. But a lot of people are turned up in America because there's a high possibility that people are armed. So that's why the police are more aggressive. You know what I mean? Here in Hungary, pretty sure I can slap box with a police officer if he tries to put me in cuffs. I wouldn't try to do that. I'm just saying, I would, I probably wouldn't die if I really tried to put my dukes up against a Hungarian police officer. But as soon as I try to raise my hand to put the cell phone to my ear, oh, a cop might let 5 shots off of me in America. Because why? Because we have too many guns. But y'all don't want to hear that, though. Let's get into the comments. City Paper said, why do you think there's so much universal hate for anything black people? My opinion about this is Negro philophobia. There is some degree that the powers that be or certain segments of society love and hate and fear the black body. And so the blackness is associated with so many negative things that have come from the stereotypes that racism and white supremacy and slavery created, right? And so now we're living in a modern age where the blatant forms of discrimination in the past can't exist anymore on paper. But those ideas and that mentality of needing to be over a certain group of people, needing to be seen as better than another group of people will somewhat always fall down on us, because of the messages that have been spread across the world from mostly American media, that black is bad, that black is associated with criminality and so many other negative things, that the rest of the world looks at us as the base of society, the base of humanity, not in the base as in the positive way, meaning the foundation, but the base as in the lowest form. And I think there is a way to fight back against this, because to some degree, this might seem hopeless. Like we're fighting against messaging and ideas about a certain group of people that has been implanted in so many people's minds. It might seem hopeless to fight against that, because as I've reported on my channel so many times, I've dealt with anti black racism across the world: Turkey, Albania, Serbia, even in Africa itself, right? It's very real. It's very real. But we can fight against that by displaying the best versions of ourselves. I'm not talking about respectability politics, like how I'm wearing a tie right now, or speaking proper English, or whatever, stuff like that, but just constantly fighting back, asserting our humanity against these forms that continue to try to dehumanize us, asserting our humanity, living our best lives possible, not caring about what other people think, trying to keep ourselves safe, defending ourselves and our family through words, actions, and deeds. That's the way that we can fight against this negative perception that seems to persist against black people for so long. I might seem like I'm meandering a bit, but I've spoken so much about why I think there's so much anti-black racism in the world plenty of times. But that might not have come out the best, but I feel like that was pretty good. Anyway, let's get into this other story of Mississippi tomfoolery, the Mississippi Mischief. Mississippi Mischief and Murder. Sounds like a nice book title. True crime. This is true crime. So, another story about Mississippi officers. Before we get to the big one, there's a really big one we're about to cover that's very recent, but we're going to get to this last story. So, Mississippi officers justified in deadly shooting after police went to the wrong house. The police killed somebody in the wrong house, and they got away with it in Mississippi. This was in September 18th, 2023, all this year. A Mississippi jury has rejected a civil lawsuit seeking money damages from two police officers who fatally shot a man while serving a warrant at the wrong house. A federal court jury in Oxford on Thursday ruled that South Haven officers Zachary Durden and Samuel Mays had not violated the civil rights of Ismael Lopez when Durden shot him to death in 2017. Ain't that a shame? The verdict came after a 4-day trial in a lawsuit by Claudia Linares, the widow of Lopez, who sought $20 million in compensation. The verdict was that the jurors did not believe that the use of force used by officers Durden and Mays was excessive in light of all the facts that they considered. Attorney Murray Wells told CBS affiliate WREG TV. This is Ismael Lopez with his wife, Claudia, and it was shown to reporters during a news conference on July 28th, 2017. This is an absolute shame. This woman lost her husband. It would kill me to see me being taken away from Acti like that. The police burst into my home and shoot me, even though I'm not the person they are looking for. And this isn't the first time this has happened in America. There was that story of that brother out in Dallas, Haitian brother, Botham John. Yeah, Botham John was in his house eating ice cream. White woman bursts in, shoots him, and then she realizes, oh, snap, he's not in my apartment. I'm in his apartment, right? Crazy stuff like that happens all the time in America. And unfortunately, this man did not see justice. I wonder if there was a criminal case, because the civil suit is just when you try to get money. But apparently, if she lost you know, more likely, if she lost the civil case, she most likely lost the criminal case as well. So the case was notable in part because the city of South Haven had previously argued that Lopez had no civil rights to violate because the Mexican man was living in the United States illegally and faced deportation orders and criminal charges for illegally possessing guns. Wow, 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 wow. All right. So yeah, city paper says not all white people, to be clear. Yeah, not all white people are racist and evil, but a lot of white people are, how can I say, uh nonchalantly racist. They don't care if racism is around them. Like, for example, a lot of white people are okay with their friends using the N word if there are no black people around. A lot of white people won't check the white people that are in their lives or in their families for doing racist stuff. They think it's okay, as long as nobody hears it. All right. But yeah, this is sad that this man got killed, and the people of Mississippi said the police did not violate his civil rights just because he was not a citizen. When oh God, it kills me so much that people are so conservative, but they don't know the Constitution. At least every person, if you've committed a crime against the U.S., is guaranteed habeas corpus. This is the idea that you are allowed to have a fair trial with a jury. You can have an attorney. You have the right to not incriminate yourself. They can't force a confession out of you. Everybody is allowed that. If that were not the case, how come the US spends millions of dollars extraditing Mexican drug cartel drug lords to the US to then try them in courts, like El Chapo and all the other guys? It doesn't make sense. People are so dumb. You don't have any civil rights in America. But if you commit a crime against America, now you have civil rights, and now you can have a jury, and now people can be held accountable for committing crimes against you. It doesn't make any sense. People are so dumb, because I'm pretty sure the people that made up that verdict, that this Mexican man, just because he was here illegally, didn't deserve to have justice for being killed for no reason by the police. It's a shame. Absolutely a shame. People don't even read the Constitution. Most Americans only care about the one and the two, the first and the second, the pink and the stink. God. Okay. A judge rejected that argument in 2020, finding constitutional rights apply to all persons. Thank you. Thank you, Judge. Finally, somebody who read a book. All right, there are a couple of huge factors at play. One was this unbelievable mistake of going to the wrong address, and we felt it was just incompetent because they didn't even take the time to look at the boxes, Wells told WREG. They went to the wrong side of the road, so that started this. The city of South Haven and now retired South Haven Police Chief Steve Purtle were dismissed from the case in June after senior U.S. District Judge Michael P. Mills found they weren't liable for the officers' actions under federal law. According to a report by the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, Lopez and Linares were in bed on July 24th, 2017, when officers knocked on the door of their trailer. The officers were intending to serve a domestic violence warrant on a neighbor across the street, but got the address confused. Officers told the state investigators that they knocked on the door without identifying themselves. The door opened, a dog ran out, and Lopez pointed a rifle through the cracked door. Officers said Mays shot the dog, and then, in quick succession, Durden fired multiple shots at Lopez. A third officer on the scene told investigators he heard Durden order Lopez to drop the rifle several times before shooting Lopez. No known video exists of the shooting. Of course, because we have to trust exactly what the police say. Those officers used tactical maneuvers to hide themselves as police officers, Wells told WREG. They never announced that they were police, and at the end of the day, Ismail Lopez was shot through a door in the back of the head. Yeah, obviously, he was such a threat that we had to shoot him in the back of the head. This guy was threatening us so much. This guy was threatening us so much that the police had to shoot him in the back of the head after they shot his dog. Of course. Let's believe everything the police say in this case. It's like the Mississippi police have ever done anything wrong, right? Why should we believe that they would do anything wrong now? The Mississippi police are completely innocent. The 41-year-old man died from a bullet that struck him in the rear of his skull, more than 6 feet 2 meters from the door. Police said he was running away. Okay, does that make it even better? Shouldn't that be incriminating right now? Anyway, Donnie Williams jumped in. He said, "Young Simon, peace and pound to you, Donnie Williams. I really need to set up my Twitter. I swear to God, guys, I'm going to set up the Twitter this weekend. We're going to start doing call-in shows. People are going to start chopping it up. You can leave comments, talk to me, everything like that, man. We're really building heavy, and I would love to get some voices other than mine on this channel. We'll talk silly about any topic. But anyway, we're talking real heavy about all the Mississippi police mischief and misconduct and murder that they've been doing in the state next to mine. Oh, thank God for Mississippi, because people would be roasting Louisiana this hard if it weren't for Mississippi. Anyway, lawyers for Lopez, who died who died before he could be taken to a hospital, have disputed that he pointed the gun at officers. They noted his fingerprints and DNA were not found on the rifle, which was recovered more than 6 feet away from his body. They suggested that Durden shot Lopez because the officer was reacting to Mays shooting the dog. When the state investigators arrived, they found Lopez lying dead in a prone position with his hands cuffed behind his back in the middle of the living room. A rifle was laying on the couch. After the shooting, a state grand jury declined to indict anyone in the case. South Haven Mayor Darren Musselwhite, in a statement again, offered condolences to the family of Lopez, but praised the outcome. This verdict proves what we've believed to be correct since day one, as our officers responded appropriately, considering the circumstances of being threatened with deadly force, Musselwhite said. We've stood behind them during the last 6 years for this very reason, and for their sake, are glad this trial is over. Wells told WREG it's uncertain what the future holds now for Lopez's widow. We look at whether or not we want to take this up or whether or not this closes a chapter of her life and she's just able to move on, Wells said. Totally sad. Totally sad. It seems like the guy who shot up Maine is still on the run. That if anybody knows if Robert Card's been caught, let me know in the chat. Let's do the live reaction to that as soon as that happens anyway. But we've been talking about so much about Mississippi police misconduct. This story here, where the police went to the wrong address and shot some innocent Mexican man, and there's no justice for him because he was in the country illegally. Now, we don't support people, coming to countries illegally, right? Like, try to find a better way to make a better life for yourself in America. But still, we read this story about 3 police officers who beat a man to death on New Year's Eve, stunned him, and then he died in the back of the car. We read a story about 6 officers who sexually assaulted 2 men, tried to put dildos on guns and stick it in their booty holes. They tried to do all that. I'm not trying to be funny here. But this last story that we're going to read today about these Mississippi monsters, who they call police, is the most sad. It's the most sad story. And this is probably one of the darkest stories I've ever heard. Jackson police buried woman's missing son in unmarked grave 4 years after brothers JPD, Jackson Police Department, beating death. Absolutely sick. Absolutely sick. Let's get into the story because it's very, very deep. So let's go here. 1 year after a jury convicted a Jackson police officer of manslaughter for the death of George Robertson, Betterson Wade writes, learned in August 2023 that her son, who had been missing for months, Dexter Wade, had died after an off-duty Jackson Police Department officer struck him in an SUV on Interstate 55 in March 2023, and that the county had buried him in an unmarked grave without notifying her of his death, despite county officials knowing his identity. Betterson Wade is seen here, right, with her mother, Vernice Robinson, left at a press conference about George Robinson's death on January 25th, 2019. What a crazy story. What a crazy, crazy story. Let's get here. So let's really build. 1 year after a jury convicted a Jackson police officer of manslaughter for the beating death of her brother, Betterson Wade learned that another JPD officer had struck and killed her 37-year-old son, Dexter Wade, in an SUV, and that the county had buried him in an unmarked grave. It's like the Jackson Police Department is terrorizing this woman and her family. This is insane. That's how much police misconduct is happening in Mississippi. That one black woman, this black woman, Betterson Wade, right? Betterson Wade, I'm sorry. Right. This is the woman right here. This one black woman lost 2 of her family members to police misconduct in Mississippi. What is that? What does that tell you about the police department in Jackson and about Mississippi as a whole? We've been talking about a lot of places, man. This is insane. So, uh, Dexter Wade had been missing for nearly 6 months before the department informed his mother of her son's fate. They had me looking for him all that time, and they knew who he was, Wade told NBC News. John Shoup, who first reported this story on Wednesday. The report says an off-duty corporal driving a JPD cruiser struck Dexter Wade as he was walking across Interstate 55's southbound lane shortly before 8 p.m. on March 5th, 2023, and that the coroner's office later ruled the death an accident. The story does not name the officer who was driving the SUV, and the Jackson Police Department offered no comment for this story. buried in a pauper's field. Dexter Wade had a prescription bottle on him with his name on it at the time of his death. Shoup reported. By March 9th, investigators had confirmed his identity using the prescription bottle and by matching his fingerprints to ones they had on file from prior arrests. An investigator told NBC News that after attempting to contact Betterston Wade unsuccessfully, he turned the information over to the Jackson Police Department so they could notify the family. Once we get that information, I turn it over to police because it is their jurisdiction so that they can do the proper death notification. NBC News quoted the Hinds County Coroner's Office investigator, LeGrand Elliott, saying, here's Dexter Wade here. So Jackson Police said Dexter Wade was walking across Interstate 55 on March 5th, 2023, when an off duty officer struck and killed him in an SUV. JPD did not inform his family about his death until August 26th, 2023. Absolutely insane. So, Betterson Wade told NBC that she did not receive a call, but instead spent months in contact with JPD while trying to find her son and conducting her own search, including exploring abandoned homes. She also posted repeated pleas on Facebook that her son would never see. You don't have to come home. Just let us know you are all right. We love you, Dexter Wade's mother wrote on July 16th as his body lay miles away in the local morgue. The post was similar to one she had seen writing. The post was similar to one she had been writing since March. Those posts ended on August 27th when Betterson Wade posted a final update, letting family and friends know that her son had gone on to a better place. I'm about to cry, man. This is so sad, man, because I'm imagining my mom like that. I know, even though I'm a grown man, if my mom didn't hear from me from like a good 6 months, a year, whatever, she would think, all right, something's up. And imagine, I'm trying to imagine my mom like looking for me, spending money, flying out to Budapest or Hungary or wherever she thinks I am in the world to try to find me, posting on Facebook all day, trying to possibly post on my YouTube channel or create her own YouTube channel, whatever, something like that to try to find her son, calling everybody she knows, calling Acti, calling everybody to try to get me. I'm imagining how my mom would feel and how heartbreaking that would be to know that I was dead in Monroe and the police did not tell her about it. This is a crime. This is a crime. And everybody who knew about that man being dead and worked in the police department and didn't tell that woman, they should be in jail, man. Yeah, I said it. We're putting everybody in jail. Lock them up. Lock them up. The day before, a JPD officer had come to her home and told her the truth about her son, how her son had died after an off duty officer struck him on the interstate in March. Nearly 6 months had passed since she had first filed a missing persons report on March 14th, 2023. After keeping his body in the morgue for months, the county had buried Dexter Wade in a pauper's field at the Hinds County Penal Farm in late July at a grave marked only as number 672. She is now raising money on GoFundMe to exhume his body and rebury him. My son was mentally ill. They say he was trying to cross the freeway and an officer hit him in an SUV, the GoFundMe says. I need help so I can give him a proper resting place. She has raised $7,255 so far. Absolutely a shame. Absolutely a shame. More Instagram and OnlyFans models. Girls who all they do is twerk and show titty made more money than this woman who lost her son to racist, stupid police officers in Jackson, Mississippi, who think a black man's life is not even worth notifying his mother when he dies. Absolutely a shame. Absolutely a shame that that there's such a low premium on black life. And this is why I say all black life matters. All black life matters. All black life matters. And I love every single black man in the world, man, because I know what we go through and I know how they look at us. Ain't that a shame, man? This man's family only raised 7K. Only raised 7K to help bury her son. And of course, we live in a country where even dying is expensive. Where if you don't have life insurance, man, it's expensive even just to bury your own son. Mm-mm-mm. They brutalized my brother. Wade's. I don't know why I keep on saying Betterson Weed. I'm sorry. No disrespect to you, Miss Betterstein. Betterstein. Betterstein is an old school name. I know she can cook well, and she'll probably give me a hard ass whooping too. Betterstein. So I better be cool on pronouncing this woman's name. So Betterstein Wade's mother, Vernice Robinson, initially advised her daughter not to go to the police to file a missing persons report when Dexter Wade went missing in early March 2023. My mama told me they're not going to do anything, Betterstein Wade told NBC News. But I had to do something to find Dexter, and I thought that was the best way. 4 years earlier, Vernice Robinson had lost her son, George Robinson. On January 13th, 2019, Jackson police officers were searching for the killer of Reverend Anthony Longino in the city's Washington addition when they encountered the 62-year-old man who had no connection with the New Bethany Missionary Baptist Church pastor's murder. So, witnesses said they saw officers pull George Robinson from his car, body slam him, and beat him with flashlights. The man, who had still been recovering from a stroke he'd suffered less than a month earlier around Christmas, later died of a subdural hemorrhage at the University of Mississippi Medical Center that evening. I feel that the officers that was involved in this, they shouldn't be just like any other citizen. They should be in jail because they brutalized my brother. Betterston Wade said at a press conference alongside her mother in the Washington edition in January 2019. And my mom, she's hurting. She's in pain. And how anybody can justify that. Justice is what we want, and we want justice. We want them to protect us and serve us just like they do anybody else. We want justice. In 2020, a grand jury indicted 3 officers for second-degree murder over George Robinson's death. But in May 2021, Hinds County Judge Faye Peterson dismissed the charges against 2 of those officers, Lincoln Lampley and Desmond Barney, saying there was no proof they were conspiring to commit an unlawful act against Mr. Robinson. Oh, sad. Absolutely sad. It's so draining. It's absolutely draining that the people in power are more concerned with protecting those who are meant to enforce power than actual citizens. This man was minding his own business, walking down the street, just had a stroke, trying to go, I don't know, get a sandwich or something. Then police run up on him, and obviously, possibly when he's shocked and say, yo, I didn't do anything, don't arrest me, don't handcuff me. I know it's much easier said than done to say when the police try to arrest you, stop resisting. But literally imagine how you feel right now if I come and run up on you with 3 other people, and just because we're wearing uniforms, you're supposed to listen to what we say. We say, put your hands on the wall and put them hands behind your back or something like that. And you're just supposed to automatically accept what we tell you to do just because we're men in uniform, right? Doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense at all. And yet and still we fault people for fighting back against the police. Now listen, if you're caught speeding or something, or if you're jaywalking across the street and the police try to stop you for it, yeah, of course you should comply. But imagine how you would feel when people come up to you running with guns up saying, hey, motherfucker, hands down, hands up, or whatever, right? And start barking at you in orders. You might get defensive too. You might turn up too. So I don't know the full story about what happened to him, but whatever happened to this man that lost his life, he did not deserve to die. He had nothing to do with it. And to say that they beat him so bad that he died from internal bleeding shows you the level of excessive force that the Mississippi, Jackson police, whatever you want to call them, are doing to their citizens. Absolutely a shame. So charges against another officer, Anthony Fox, stood. In August 2022, a jury convicted him of negligent manslaughter for Robinson's death. Hinds County Circuit Judge Adrian Wooten sentenced Fox to 20 years and 15 suspended for a total of 5 years behind bars. Later that month, Betterston Wade and her family filed a wrongful death lawsuit over her brother's death. While a judge dismissed some of those claims, the others remain pending in court. I hope they get $1 trillion. I hope they bankrupt the city, man. I hope they bankrupt the city because you know what? The guy is going to jail, you know. So yeah, I hope the officers that got convicted weren't black though. That would be so Mississippi. That'd be so Mississippi if the 2 who got dismissed were white and all the ones who got 20 to life or 15 years are black. That would be so Mississippi. Anyway, we're almost finished with this article, so let's get to it. But on July 10th, 2023, Mississippi Attorney General Lynn Fitch asked the state appeals court to reverse Fox's sentence. In a brief, the white Republican Attorney General argued that George Robinson failed to follow Fox's commands or to show his hands after the officer ordered him to get out of the car. In the struggle, Robinson got a small, superficial abrasion on his forehead. He had no other visible injuries or symptoms of injuries. Several hours later, Robinson, who was 62, had health problems and was on medication, suffered a seizure, and 2 days later died of a subdural hematoma. Fitch's filing continued, saying the conviction should not stand. In an interview with NBC, Hinds County District Attorney Jody Owens, a black Democrat, accused Fitch of undermining the jury and local elected officials. For years, white Republican state leaders have sought to usurp more and more authority from the majority black capital cities' elected officials. It means she doesn't care about my brother. She's showing that she doesn't have any kind of feeling for my brother. The only thing she has feeling for is a police officer. Betterston Wade told NBC News reporter John Shoup in July. The same reporter would break the story of her son's death 3 months later. Mayor's office, no malicious intent. George Robinson and Dexter Wade's family members have not alleged a connection between the deaths. The Jackson Police Department did not agree to comment for this story, directing reporters instead to Mayor Chokwe A. Lumumba's office. Jackson Director of Communications Melissa Faith Payne sent a statement to the Mississippi Free Press this morning saying that officers were unable to identify him at the time of his death on March 5th. Days later, the coroner's office was able to identify the victim as Dexter Wade of medication by way of medication found in his pocket. However, the contact information from Mr. Wade was outdated, and neither the coroner's office nor investigating officers were able to make contact with Mr. Wade's family, the statement said. Subsequently, on March 14th, Dexter Wade's family reported him missing to the Jackson Police Missing Persons Unit. Missing persons officers did not know that the pedestrian victim from March 5th was the same person reported missing on March 14th. The lead detective in the missing persons case continued to investigate until he retired in July. Payne said a second officer began a follow up investigation in August that led back to the coroner's office. Through collaborative efforts, they were able to close the missing persons case by identifying Dexter Wade as a pedestrian who was killed March 5th. The statement continued. While this is a very tragic and unfortunate accident, our investigation found no malicious intent by any Jackson police staff. BS. BS, man. All BS. All BS. Because the person that hit this man caused malicious intent to begin with. Why isn't he charged with manslaughter? Anyway, Greg Mack jumped into the chat. What's good, Simon? This is the same area where Deion Sanders was coaching. The money is coming from taxpayers, not from their pensions. All right, so yeah, Deion Sanders, I believe, was coaching at one of these schools. And hey, wasn't Tom Brady? Damn. Didn't something happen with Tom Brady recently where he was in cahoots with some guy in Mississippi, some nasty, fat, gross oligarch in Mississippi who owns like a bunch of Section 8 housing. And instead of using that money in Section 8, or he was like pocketing it. It wasn't like Tom Brady associated with that. I don't really follow sports like that, but wasn't that a story that happened in Mississippi too? See, Mississippi is on a different type of time. Mississippi is still 1912. Mississippi is still 1923 down there. They're beating up black men, sexually assaulting them, sticking dildos in their mouths, shooting innocent Mexicans in the back of the head. It's crazy what's happening in Mississippi. And let this be a learning lesson for all of us. Let this be a learning lesson for all of us. There's actually a lot of good things and good people in Mississippi. Hell, some of them might even be police officers. I highly doubt it, though. But what can we do in this situation? Oh, yeah, that was Brett Favre. Greg Matt said Brett Favre. Absolutely right. Yeah, that was Brett Favre who was caught up in the fuckery down there. And I think it was something about Section 8 housing or welfare money or something like that. But listen, man, we shouldn't live in despair, even though these police are doing horrible things to people that look like you and me. Let's not live in despair. If you live in America or if you live in Mississippi or in the South or something like that, let's try to reform our police departments. I don't believe we should abolish police, but I do think that we should possibly give them a little bit less money, do something about the crime that's happening on the street through different avenues and means. We don't need to look at every problem as a nail and the police are the hammer. Some things can be dealt with in different ways, is what I would say. You know what I mean? And all these cases where the police hurt people who are innocent or had nothing to do with the crimes, those police and anybody who is associated with that incident should be in jail. That's my honest opinion and stuff like that. Yeah, City Paper said, and he still ain't in jail. Absolutely. People are going to say, oh, in this story, this guy was hit because he was crossing the highway. It's not illegal to walk across a highway. It's not, you could literally walk on I-20 from end to end if you want to. You could walk up and down I-95 if you want to. You get what I'm saying? Oh, he's talking about Brett Favre. Nobody can see. People are only here for the fuck shit. I'm over here talking about police killing black men, and people want to talk about a white man who built the system out of millions, man. Y'all are funny, man. My chat is funny. My people are hilarious. But yeah, man, I hope this information wasn't so depressing. I just thought these all of these true crime stories were very interesting. And I hope you enjoyed this live stream. I'm gonna go eat dinner now. We've been on here for about an hour and a few. I want to say thank you to everybody who came to chop it up with me. A special shout out to our moderator, Avery Adams, for sending the super chat. Everybody clap for Avery Adams. He's the man number one. He's a man with the plan. I don't know if he's still in here, but he is the moderator. And anybody who sends super chats gets automatic moderation status on my channel. And so you can block people like me. You can help me fight back against the hordes of wild Albanians that come into the chat, come and trying to talk spicy to us. Shout out to City Paper as well. Shout out to Donnie Williams. Shout out to Greg Mack. Acty and I will be doing a live stream this weekend, so look out for that. We want to know what topics you want us to cover. Leave comments. Tell us what you want us to talk about. We'll get into it. So thank you for watching. My name's Simon Hill. Peace.